Welcome to Shane Barker's Marketing Madness podcast. In this episode, we'll be talking about blogging and content marketing. My guest, Ryan Robinson, is a blogger, entrepreneur, coach, keynote speaker, author, and content marketing strategist. His website receives over 40,000 views per month, and he runs a consulting business and podcast too. Listen as he talks about how he designed and grew his blog to massive proportions. Really excited about having you on the podcast. Podcast is simple in nature. I mean, it originally we talked about content that converts was originally what it was called. And then we've switched it to Shane Barker's Marketing Madness podcast because it kind of opens up kind of who we can interview and who we can talk with. And really at the end of the day, even though I've sent you some questions, we can make a quick left or right-hand turn or go backwards or, only God knows at this point. So we just really put on our seatbelts and throw on a helmet and just pray for the best that we make it through this thing. I know. We'll see. You'll see what you see at the end, buddy. But anyway, so I'm excited about it. So today there's a number of things we're gonna go over with you today. I mean, obviously, you've done some over the top stuff. I mean, we're gonna talk about how to build a $50,000 side blog. So just so the audience understands, like you might have just recently stopped this, but you had a full-time gig while you were building this blog, correct?
That's right. Yeah, I just recently hopped over to working full-time on my blog in July 2019. So
wow, just about a month. Yeah, that's awesome. And so, I mean, how long were you making? We're going to jump into the, how you built this and how you're doing 50,000 a month. At what point did you? I mean, because how long have you been building it? And I would say like at the $50,000 mark, how long have you been making that kind of revenue?
Making that kind of revenue just this year, basically.
Gotcha.
So January 2019, it's been about 8 months or so of really doing well.
So this is what's so funny to me, because I can guarantee that probably 98% of the people that are listening to this podcast that are extremely intelligent, by the way, because that's the reason why they're listening to the podcast, because why would they not be intelligent and listening to it? Like why did you wait 8 months? And I feel like I'm kind of putting the cart before the horse, but why did you wait 8 months to jump ship? I mean, you were probably obviously making money up before that. Did you feel like 50,000 was like, I need to make 50,000 for 8 months? I mean, and the reason why I'm saying this is like, people start businesses and they say you have to have at least 6 months of capital, right? So you have to look at this and go, okay, what do I need to do? I need to have 6 months of like, if nothing happened, it was terrible, wasn't able to keep this thing going, then I could jump ship after, month 6 and figure it out. Was that kind of your reasoning?
It's close. It's not far off. I mean, for me personally, so I did start my blog back in 2014. So this has been like a 5-year journey for me. And basically all of last year, I had between $10,000 and $20,000 a month in revenue from my blog. And so I hit this really massive growth streak, basically starting in January, when things really took off. And then I started planting the seeds for, once I saw, basically my rule is this repeatable? Is this dependable? Has this been lasting a decent amount of time? And so after it was like 3 months of around 50K in revenue per month, that was when I decided like, okay, now it's time to put some things in motion. And then it took me basically, 4 months, 5 months just to fully part ways with Close, the CRM. It was the company that I was working for full-time previously. So I wanted to make like a nice kind of mutually beneficial departure happen.
Gotcha. So you were like, some people put in a 2-week notice and you're like 4 months because you care. You're like, I'm going to keep it slow. I'm not going to leave yet, but I just let you guys know that there might be a potential time here in the next few months that I might leave. Well, and you've obviously been real open about, your blog and what you've been doing there. So it wasn't like it was a secret by any means, right? I mean, this was obviously something that you were ongoing and they knew that, and really it's beneficial for Close and for other companies that work with you, because then you're out there, you've got your presence out there, and you can talk about the things they're doing and the wins and the losses and all that fun stuff. So I don't think it's a bad thing at all.
No, it was one of those things where, also Stelly, the CEO of Close, is a super good salesperson. So he convinced me to stick around for an extra couple of months beyond what I probably would have if I was working for someone else too. So
gotcha. So that's it. So that's we got to watch out for those good salespeople. Boy, they'll come in and put in your 2-week notice, and then next you're there for 4 more months. You're like, what just happened?
That is what happened. But it is great. No complaints.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So tell us a little bit. So we're going to kind of reverse engineer this now that we've got everybody all excited. We're going to go into the stuff just about you. I want to kind of lay a little foundation here about so where did you grow up? Where are you at currently? Actually, where you live now?
San Francisco. One of these
SF.
rare sunny days here. It's finally summer. It's happening.
SF and sunny in San Francisco. So I think we talked about this last time. My brother lives in San Francisco as well. I'm gonna have to come out and visit you. I don't know why I thought you were like in Denver. Why did I think you were in Denver? Were you at a certain point?
I was actually. Yeah, we spent the year of some of 2017, some of 2018 in Denver. Yeah.
Oh, that's why. Okay, see, that's the old brain still working there. But I was a little worried that I was like, God, I always say the medicine isn't working because I'm like, I thought he was in Denver for a little bit, but I mean, what do I know?
We're back.
There we go, back to San Francisco. Okay, I'm gonna have to make an effort to come out and visit you. And I would say I'd buy you like lunch or dinner or something, but you're making $50,000 a month, so it looks like you're buying dinner. I mean, it sucks when people know how much you make. You're like, no, I think he's actually gonna treat me this time, or I'll buy you a beer. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out somewhere in the middle. So did you grow up in San Francisco or no?
No, I'm actually from tiny little cowtown Hanford, California. It's along the 5. If you get off on the Harris Ranch exit, drive towards nowhere for about 45 minutes and you'll find it.
Okay. I actually do know of that. I remember seeing that along 5. When you're going down, we go down to Southern California. Like if we're not flying, then I like to drive down there and get work done while my wife drives. And, this is a long story. But so Hanford, huh? So how big was the city? Small.
About 50,000 people. It's growing quite a bit now. They just got an In-N-Out burger recently, so that's the big thing.
Front door. Jeez.
There are still more cows than there are people.
Well, that's got to be, it makes sense if there's an In-N-Out burger with all the cows there. You would think it's like fresh. Like literally this is like from Louisa, the cow from like 2 days ago. Like she's like here. That's awesome.
Be a friend.
You said that's right. We had a name for her. That means she's definitely a friend. How big was your family growing up?
Small, immediate family. I'm an only child, actually.
Really? So only one, huh?
Yeah. Got a lot of close cousins, though, that are my age-ish, that I kind of grew up just a few houses down. So it was kind of like pseudo siblings, I guess you could say, right? But we would always do like Taco Tuesdays, and I have a huge kind of spread out family. So, Thanksgivings are like 75 people. It's a big crew.
Wow. That's awesome, man. That's kind of what I was touching on. I always like to kind of understand people's dynamics with families because it's always interesting how people kind of grew up. So tell us an interesting fact other than you where you grew up is kind of a cow town. Give us an interesting fact. Is there anything fun that you're like, nobody knows that Ryan used to ride cows bareback for a living for side money on the weekends, or like what? Give us something fun. Like you got anything that's like I'm not supposed to tell anybody. Grandma went to the grave with this, but I want to go ahead and tell you and your listeners.
Ooh, this is an interesting one. Nothing super crazy, although something that not too many people know about me, I guess, is that I've been to all 50 US states. So that was one thing that my dad really instilled in me was like travel and getting to know people in like different cultures. And he took me out to, as an only child, right? This is much more feasible than if you have a ton of siblings that got to go on every trip.
Yeah.
So for me, that was one benefit of like, we went to tons of different countries and visited every US state on various different road trips. So we spent a lot of time in the car growing up.
So that's funny. So we have a lot of parallels. Most people don't know, I went to school in Costa Rica. Like I went for a full, and this was many moons ago. Like I'm like 100 at this point, but many moons ago I went and did this. And so my dad did the same thing. Like my dad originally, because he was an old school California hippie, him and his buddy went in their Volkswagen van. This is a true story. And they had things in the Volkswagen van that I guess I can say now. They had weed, right? A lot of weed. So, and my dad goes in his van and went to like all the states, and they did it for like 6 months, and had a phenomenal time. And lived
funding their trip with sales all along.
Yeah, I guess so. Little for medicinal use, I'm sure, of course. And my dad's going to hear this, and he's going to be like, "Look at Shane talking about my marijuana use. This is awesome." But we can do that now, so it's all legal. So, the crazy part is like that's been instilled in me, and so the fact that you've been to all 50 states, I'm a little jealous of that. I've just recently, no, it's a lie. In the last year, I've been looking at like vans. Like I've really wanted to do the van life, and I've been every day. Pretty much every day, I go on Craigslist and I'll look at these vans, and I'm like, I should get this one. And I've got it like all plotted out, and I'm pretty close to pulling the trigger because I make kind of like you. I've got the blog's going good and got some good stuff going. I'm trying to get a little bit out of client work. So all my clients that hear this, I was just kidding. We're going to be together forever. But all the other clients that are going to reach out to me, we might not work together. But anyways, I'm trying to figure out this model of what I want to do there. But I'm a little envious that you did 50 states, man. So was that like you guys just, I mean, I guess every summer or whatever, what did your parents do? Like for you to be able to have that kind of flexibility?
Yeah, it was a few summers, but both of my parents, both my mom and my dad, were entrepreneurs. So my dad had a construction company, had been doing that for like 30 years, basically. And then, my mom was a tutoring company. She had her own tutoring company in Hanford. So they both were small business owners. They both had the flexibility of like having pretty good teams of people to help out and like step in and give them the flexibility to take off for a couple weeks, 2, 3 weeks here and there. But yeah, that was it. It was a hell of a gift being able to travel like that too. It's to me something that I want to give to my children one day too. It was very instrumental to my growth, and there were tons of different reasons we took specific trips too. Like in 8th grade, we were studying Civil War history, and so we went and watched the Gettysburg the reenactment and did a bunch of like through battlefields in the South. It was cool. It was a lot of fun.
That's killer. So do you think your upbringing with your parents having their own businesses and seeing the ups and downs of that, obviously, right? Because there's, I mean, when you're an entrepreneur, do you think that's kind of where your hustle mindset comes from? Like where it's like, you kind of saw that it's like, you got to like grind it and it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult and you're going to be ups and downs. But, I mean, do you really think your foundation was probably obviously from your parents?
Definitely where it started, because I was also helping out from a pretty young age. Like with the tutoring company, like I was on, rollerblades delivering flyers when I was like 12. And then my summer job was always, always, always pouring concrete with my dad's construction crew. And so for me, I got to learn kind of the the value of hard work, and also that I wanted to go to college so that I wouldn't be doing concrete work after graduation.
Yeah, those life lessons. It's funny. So my dad did that to me too. What we did was he's like, hey, we're gonna put in some sprinklers. This is in our original house a long time ago, and we gotta dig it out. And it's like, it was like hard pan. I mean, I don't know if it was hard pan like you probably dealt with out there where it's very, very dry. It was dry here in Sacramento, and I went out there and my hands were blistered and bloody and everything. And my dad was like, so do you want to like do sprinklers your whole life, like your uncle, or would you like to maybe jump into college? And I was like, God, how quickly can I sign up for college? Like, I'm pretty
sure I still have some calluses from my concrete days.
Well, concrete, that's one thing. If I'm doing this and you're doing concrete is another level. Like that's not even like, I actually have a real estate company, which is a whole nother story, that we flip properties. And so the concrete stuff and all that, I bow my hat to anybody that's in the concrete or anybody that's in that industry, especially when you get into the hot areas and everything like that. It's just like, man, that's a different type of person. Those are beat. Yeah, it is. It's a hard deal. So where did you end up going to college?
Chapman University down in Orange, California.
Gotcha. I have a good friend of mine, some good friends of ours that their daughter's going to Chapman. She's maybe in her junior year.
Nice. So, yeah. It's a good school. It's gotten, I would say, progressively better every year too. So I kind of have the benefit of a degree being worth more, I guess, as time goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I know I know they're super excited because it's super cheap to go there. Oh wait, that was a joke. that was a joke. Yeah, I was like, why was nobody laughed at that? I mean, well, yeah, I just know that they've kind of told me like, listen, we've got 2 more years and then we can do anything in life. Like at that point, we're just like, and they're taking care of everything which I thought was really nice of them. But yeah, literally what they're going to do is might be the day that they're done paying. They're selling their house and they're actually going on a 2-year trip to like all over the world. That's their plan. And my wife and I are actually going to go visit them in different countries. So we're kind of prepping for that. Yeah, 2020 is their deal. I'm assuming that's when I'll come back for my my van life excursion, whatever I got going on there. So we'll see how that all pans out.
With Chapman, having a 50% scholarship helped a lot.
Ooh, look at you. Now you're just bragging. That's awesome. What did you get the scholarship in?
It was academics based. Yeah.
Awesome.
I think they might do sports-based stuff now, but at the time it was pretty much just academics.
Gotcha. So look at you coming in with academics, huh?
I tried. After my first year of high school, I started trying, I should say. I think my first semester of school, I came home. So they used to mail out the report cards back then, right? It wasn't online. I came home after report cards were mailed out, and I didn't have a door on my bedroom. My TV was ripped out. This is when I was 15, I want to say. But yeah, I pulled a nice 1.87 GPA.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And time. And you know what 187 is? That's actually, I think that's code for cops for murder. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you really think about that was maybe the origination of it. And so your dad looked at that and thought, I got an idea. Let me just take that door off. and I'll go ahead and take out the TV. There we go.
Yeah, that was pretty serious.
Yeah, you don't want concrete hands on you. I mean, I don't know if that ever happened. I'll just tell you right now, that is not somebody to mess with.
Giant callus there.
Oh, I can imagine. God, it's probably like he's probably like what is it the Fantastic Four, like the big
yes.
guy with the big old. I can only imagine. Shout out to your dad. So cool. And then how did you jump into marketing? Right. I mean, we've got this. So what was your degree? What was your degree in?
I study business with a focus on entrepreneurship and marketing, actually.
There we go.
But my big moment was literally sitting in my first internet marketing class. It's funny that they called it internet marketing, right? But sitting in that class was like literally like kind of the light bulb moment for me that this was something that I was going to be interested in. And I can trace so many early things back to that class because we had amazing guest speakers that were killing it in digital marketing and their own businesses. And we registered our domain names even in that class. So that was when I first grabbed my blog domain. It was
really? What year was this?
This was in 2011, 2010. Yeah.
2011. Okay, gotcha. So this was still a little early.
Yeah, it was still in it. I mean, it was kind of like marketing 1.0, digital marketing 1.0.
That's awesome, man. I tell you, I wish I would have had that. I graduated from college in 2003, but I'm a little older than you, and that's because that's how it happens sometimes. We didn't have a lot of digital class. I mean, really, there was one entrepreneurship class that I took, and it was a good class because I'd already had experience of being an entrepreneur before I went to college. Like, so I was kind of did things. I didn't graduate for 10 years, and that was because I was traveling and I was kicking and screaming about becoming an adult, and I had my businesses, and things were going interesting there. I had some great ones and some terrible ones, and as you go. But I did want to talk to you a little bit because you talk about like having your business and starting your blog, at least registering your domain name. What about your company? Was it Case Escape? Wasn't that one? Was that one of your first companies that you had? Like, give me a little intel on that one.
Yeah, Case Escape was my second business. I had one during college that was a complete disaster. The quick recap on that one is it was around this product I made called the iStash. It was an iPhone lookalike hide your anything device designed to carry, let's say joint-shaped objects and lighters into music festivals, concerts, things like that. But yeah, that was a good lesson in product development, product pricing, margins. Ended up losing, I think, around $7,000 on that business when it was all said and done. But yeah, Case Escape was the first real, actual kind of successful business that came starting right after college. And I launched it with a friend. We were making phone cases that we were selling on Etsy. And, in 2012, when Etsy was still like relatively new as far as online marketplaces, and yeah, just getting in early on some like really cool trends. This was also when like the second or third generation iPhone was still pretty popular. So cases weren't as like ubiquitous. You couldn't have a ton of different varieties in an actual Apple store. And so, yeah, that was kind of where that business came. We eventually grew into selling kind of like a print your own cases, business in a box type of solution where we would sell our actual printers and, the blank cases and the inks, and you could take any image you want, photo of you with your dog, whatever, your kids, print it directly onto a phone case in about 5 minutes. So it was a pretty cool product line. And my friend, my business partner from that is actually still doing it today. So it's gone on, it's lived.
Nice. Are you still a part of it, or is it something you sold out on, or?
I sold my half of the business to him back in, I think, 2015, right around when I moved to San Francisco.
Gotcha. And where's your business partner out of?
He's in Philadelphia. So he has, it was kind of a good lesson with this business where we kind of quickly learned within, I'd say, 6 months of starting it that it was going to be a great income for one person or a kind of shitty income for two people.
Yes.
It was like, I'm going to step out. I've got a couple other projects I want to like pursue and keep working on. But he was able to grow it in some pretty cool ways, I think, largely because he had the flexibility of a good income coming in to kind of like fuel the business in different directions.
He had an agency that I was a part of that I started with two other friends of mine. And that was kind of the same deal after about 6 months. And I was the one that started the agency. I said, you know what, you guys, I'm going to opt out of this. I don't think there's enough revenue for the three of us. And they're like, what? Like, what do you mean you started it? I go, yeah, but well, once again, I've got other projects, got some other stuff going on, and I want you guys to take this thing. I actually didn't even sell it. I mean, I literally just gave it to them and said, hey, I just want to go in a different direction because we're fighting for dollars here, and I just think that there is room for two. There's not room for three. And I think probably everybody was thinking that, and I was like just the one that jumped ship and gave it to them. And I think it's still going today. So, shout out to those guys for keeping it going. You guys can buy me a dinner sometime soon or something like that. Like, since I jumped out. Now I think I want my money now that I think about it. But so tell us about your blog. Like, you started your blog. Obviously, you got the domain, 2011, you're saying. And then, like, how did you, what did it start off as? Was it just like a personal blog talking about this, that, or the other? Was it marketing based? What did you start off as?
From 2011 to, let's say, 2013, it was nothing. It was just completely blank. And then 2013, I started it basically as a Tumblr blog. So it was like your classic, like fashion, lifestyle, like, architecture, cars, like tech gadgets thing I like, where it was literally as simple as just reposting other images on Tumblr, adding my own that I took occasionally from trips and stuff, right? But I built up like, very small following. Maybe a couple thousand people were following my blog. But it wasn't something that I was super interested in as the months and years went on. So I'd say about a year and a half after the Tumblr blog was when I kind of transitioned it in 2014 over to what it is today, essentially, at least the simplified version of what my blog is today. And it all really started with my first big post, and it was kind of a post-mortem breaking down the story of the ice stash, explaining what happened, where I went wrong. I basically answered a ton of questions from friends who were asking me about how I had built the business, why I didn't keep doing it, what went wrong. And so doing that deep analysis was kind of my first long form article.
Nice. And so it was, and which I think is awesome. I mean, that's the thing, you look at businesses and it's funny. So I always have this conversation with people and they talk about, oh, my business failed. And I always look at it but it built you to what you are today, right? I mean, I think it's so foundational in things that happen. And I think that's why for me, travel is as important, right? As in growing businesses, is that together makes you who you are today, right? So I think, and I think it's also important. I think you having your blog and sharing that is important because then people can understand what you've been through as an entrepreneur. Because you never know what you read, or some people are always nervous about being an entrepreneur, right? Like, what do I do? What are the first steps? And what happens if I fail? What happens this? And when you read more blogs and you read more articles and stuff where people can go, oh, okay, now that makes sense. Oh, that makes sense to me. You can kind of hopefully get them one step closer to either potentially starting it or saying, hey, maybe I want to work for the state full time. Like maybe that scares me too much, right? It's too much of a risk. Because there is a big risk, right? I mean, obviously, not every business that we've had has been successful. I mean, but that's the businesses that weren't successful, the businesses that I got slapped the hardest. I couldn't have learned that at Harvard, right? You couldn't have taught me that experience any other place, the best colleges in the world, because it was something that I actually went through and I had to grind it out and figure it out, and whatever that may be. So it's interesting. So when did your blog, so you went from kind of like a personal, like, hey, this is, kind of a lifestyle blog, I guess. When did you decide to transition it into like business and marketing and, how to do blogging, and when did the transition happen for you?
I kind of had a light bulb go off just after that first post. Went pretty viral, actually. I mean, surprisingly viral. Some of the reasons why I still don't know today, but I did post it to Hacker News. So, since I graduated from college in 2012, I have had marketing jobs consistently since then. And so with Case Escape for the first 6 months to a year that I was doing that full time, I was also kind of putting into practice what I was learning in my day job and things I had learned in school. So I had sort of learned all right, if we can rank for, how to start a phone case business with Case Escape, then we'd get a ton of people coming looking to learn how to start their own phone case business, right? So I kind of learned a lot of these SEO best practices from following people like Brian Dean, Neil Patel. Some of these guys have been doing it for a very, very long time. You've been doing it for a very long time too. And so finding these people that are kind of exposing what you should be doing, best practices as far as marketing and SEO was super important to me. And I was just putting that stuff into practice on my own blog. And all along, as I'm starting to kind of share my own adventures in different side businesses and what I've learned building a freelance business, all these little sort of niche experiments I've done over the years, I've been able to also kind of explain the marketing processes behind what's actually getting my content to rank well in organic, or, get something to go viral on Pinterest, whatever that kind of insert tactic or strategy here may be. just sharing as I'm implementing and also sharing kind of the bad stuff, right? Like I think that's something that makes my content pretty relatable, is not just sharing the highlight reel, but also saying like, hey, here's an experiment that didn't work. Avoid it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the fact that you put my name with Neil and Brian, now I'm going to buy you dinner, just so you know. Originally it was you, and we've just flipped it. I don't know if you did that on purpose, but that was a nice little move. Okay, I'll buy you dinner, and I appreciate that. So there we go. And so what would be? And then when did you start making some money? So you obviously started talking about your wins, your losses, other things you're doing, talking about these different strategies. At what point did you start to see some money come in? And then at what point did you say, hey, listen, I really have something here. And this is like through the different strategies you've used. And I want to talk about that a little bit as further on in the blog or further on in the podcast. But why don't you kind of tell us a little bit at what point you kind of had that moment of like, wow, I've got something here.
Yeah, my early monetization was through freelancing, consulting, freelance writing, kind of a combination of like being a content marketing for hire on a contract basis. So that was always like for the first year and a half, 2 years, that was always my main source of income. And I had the benefit of, once I moved up to San Francisco 2014, working at Creative Live, which was kind of the biggest online course platform for a very long time before like Masterclass took off recently. But they were up there kind of with like Skillshare, Udemy, and they're still around today.
So hold on, I got a question for you. Did we already talk about this last time on your podcast?
We might have actually mentioned it, yeah.
So the reason I'm asking, do you know Justin Barker?
Oh yeah, he lives, I'm not even kidding, he lives like behind me.
That's my brother.
What? Oh my
Justin
God.
Barker is my brother.
How did I not put that together?
Because we don't look anything alike, right? So he dated each other, baby Noah.
Actually.
So this is what's funny. When you said Creative Live, and I'm like, did we talk about that on his pod? Because my brother was at Creative Live.
We didn't make that connection. Oh my God.
Dude,
yeah, he has a baby. I just saw him walking his baby, like with his baby in his. Oh my God.
So so this is hilarious. So, I mean, I just saw my brother this week. Unfortunately, my grandfather passed this weekend. And so I just saw him and Bridget and everybody. God, that is such a small world. That's what I'm saying. My brother lives in San Francisco. I'll come visit you, and you're like literally his neighbor.
Well, the next time you come here, it'll be pretty easy to see me.
That is too funny.
I don't know how I didn't connect that. That's hilarious.
I think just Barker, but we look nothing alike, right? I mean, it's like like night and day. Shout out to Justin Barker. Shout out to my brother. Man, this is. Well, you know what's crazy? So I'm going to go into this quick little story, then we're going to jump back onto really what we're going to be talking about today. So Rand Fishkin.
Yeah.
So Rand, I just interviewed Rand actually earlier today. So I have a funny story about Rand. This was Dreamforce. I don't know how many years ago, 7 years ago, 10 years ago. I'm terrible with time. I was with my wife, and Rand and all of his whole group came in and from Dreamforce, and I saw him, and I told my wife, I was like, I'm going to go buy their dinner, and we're just going to leave. We're not even going to tell them. She goes, what? She goes, why would you do that? I said, I have no idea why I'm going to do that, but I'm just going to. So I went in, I bought their dinner, and we left. We like scooted out. I was like, tell the waitress, don't tell them who bought it. Like they didn't know me because I wasn't. I don't even think I was blogging at that time. Like I was a nobody in the sense that I just wasn't doing anything other than some marketing stuff. Yeah, and I was impressed with him. He's Moz and all the other fun stuff. So we bought the dinner and we left. Well, I tell my wife, hey, I'm going to interview Rand. I'm going to bring up the dinner thing, and she's like, I don't remember the dinner thing. And I'm like, what? And then so I started thinking in my head, I'm like, did I like have a dream or something? So are you sure? So I talked to Rand. I was like, hey, in San Francisco, do you remember somebody buying your dinner? He goes, yeah, we were like at a place called Mel's Diner. He goes, dude, you bought our dinner. So this is crazy. And he goes, then we bought the next person's dinner. Like we went to somebody else and didn't tell them who it was, and we bought their dinner.
Oh, that's awesome.
And paid it forward. Yeah. So I just started
the chain.
Yeah, it's like these weird. I've had 2 podcasts where it's like these connections where it's like just super cool stuff, right? I mean, it's like the whole premise of this. And my brother, and he's your neighbor, so you got to be kidding me right now. I know exactly where you guys are.
We live on actually the same block. He's just on the other side of the block.
So he's right by the church. And so where you live next to the church?
I can look at the church out my window.
That is gotta be kidding me. What are the odds? This is ridiculous. Okay, so now I definitely owe you dinner. Now I owe you beers and whatever else comes along with this whole thing. So now you at least know that Justin's dad was a pothead.
Wow.
Anyways, which is still my dad. So hey, who knew?
Makes sense. Makes sense now.
All kinds of new facts. Look at that. Well, cool. So let's talk about this. I want to get back to your $50,000 a month because obviously that's a nice juicy number. What Do me a favor, break it down to, and I know you have this on your website. I was trying to look for it. You actually break down where you're making your money, right? So where is like, because you obviously have, you have a course, you have your consulting business, you have, I think you do some affiliate stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us, give us a little breakdown of like, where's the cash coming in?
Yeah. So up until this year, I was really like, 90% freelance income, 10% affiliates and courses and stuff on the average month, let's say for 2017 and 2018. And 2018 was the year that I was determined to change those ratios around. I'm like, all right, I want to step aside from doing the trading my time for dollars stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like, you alluded to your shift that you're starting to make yourself, right? It grows tiring after doing it for long enough. And I wasn't systematizing properly. I didn't want to run like a full-on agency. So I was breaking my own back. And I'm like, all right, I got to do this shift. And so I started producing way more content in 2018 than I ever had before, dropping out super long form stuff. Like my guide on how to start a blog is 25,000 words long, I think. So like really trying to like 10x what other stuff out there is doing. And it wasn't until the very end of 2018, early 2019, that really started to pay off. I started to like tackle some top spots for like very high volume keyword phrases, like how to start a blog, business ideas, how to start freelancing. There's kind of a handful of them that drive the majority of my traffic today. And so that was really the big shift where, now I take on the occasional freelance project for like the right person, the right company. Like it's very kind of whenever it feels perfect for me to
Pick
do.
and
Right?
choose, my friend. Pick and choose.
It's
There's nothing
nice.
wrong. That's awesome.
It's great. And now, the majority really is, I'd probably say today, 75% affiliates, 20% courses, and then the other 5% is, the occasional freelance project or something.
Man, living the dream, my friend. That's beautiful, man. Anytime you can flip that on its head, and I mean,
Yeah.
once again,
Ton of
client
work.
work is,
Still a lot more to
yeah.
do, but yeah.
But the thing is, it's only going to go up from here, right? I mean, that's the beautiful thing about it is you put in the time and the effort. I mean, I remember and I've talked about this on my podcast is, when I first started blogging and then when I started having people write for my blog and we started doing this, my wife's like, why are you spending money? Why are you hiring writers? Like, why don't you do it all? And I'm like, well, because I want to get it up to a certain volume. Plus, I don't really like writing as much as some people. Some people love it. And for me, I'm like, I look at it and I over critique stuff. So, and it's funny, the investment that you put in. I mean, I started my blog, I'll have to look, I think it was 2011 as well, but I wasn't doing tons of stuff with it. But anyways, my point is now, and the same thing with my blog, in the last probably year and a half, it's really started to take off, which I wish I would have done the stuff I'm doing now. It's like anything else. I wish I would have invested in real estate 10 years ago or something, but it's the same thing. It's like now you really start to see it take off, and it's really interesting on how to monetize it. But it's not the thing that people have to realize, and anybody's listening to this, it's not easy. It's not a quick process, right? I mean, this isn't something like you just go put up a few blog posts and you crush it, and then there we go, you monetize, right? And I mean, obviously the awesome part is there's people like myself and you that are talking about successes, and there's a lot, there's great courses, there's all kinds of phenomenal stuff. I mean, it's a different world now. You can go and tap into this and learn how to do PPC, maybe not be amazing at it, but at least have a good general idea of how to do that. And blogs like yours where people can come in and learn how to start a business, which I think is invaluable.
Yeah. It takes time. I mean, that's the biggest thing that I've learned. I feel like I relearn it every year and build a deeper appreciation of it, that creating something super meaningful, like, earning 50K a month now is the end result of me investing a shitload of time and resources in
money. Yeah.
Getting writers to help, like developers, designers. Like it's taken 5 years to get here, right? And it's easy to look at people who are at this level today and be like, wow, that's amazing. But it's so much work that really went into it, and so it's even more to keep it going once you have it, really.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing and that's another thing I didn't want to talk to you about is so you're obviously going after certain keywords, which is awesome. But I mean, you're also going up against some big hitters, right? So I mean, what kind of like link volume do you need? I mean, what's the strategy to be able to keep that positioning, right? Because I'm assuming, well, let's first break this down on where you're making your money. Like let's break, and you kind of broke it down a little bit, but like with affiliate stuff, so you're saying 75% from affiliate. Who's your main affiliate? Is like Bluehost?
Bluehost is number one by far. Like within the affiliate category, I mean, that's 80% probably.
Gotcha. So that's where you've got a healthy amount of all of your income is coming from Bluehost. And the same thing like Pat Flynn, I think was real, we're big in the blue hosting. And obviously they've got a great affiliate program. And then a 25,000 word blog post. So that's your main traffic driver, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
And have you revamped it over the years? Has it been, originally you wrote it 2 years ago and you revamped it 2 or 3 times?
It gets updated about once a month, I would say. But when I first published it, it was around 5,000 words. So yeah, I've added onto it a ton. But what's actually insane is that the blog post is only about a year and a month or 2 old. Skyrocketed to the top pretty quickly. And now there's been, full transparency, there's been a ton of algorithm updates, Google algorithm updates this summer.
Last few months, yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of shuffling around in the search results. But I've got some pretty good ideas as to what is kind of impacting that the most.
Yeah. I mean, is that the kind of thing, do you like wake up in the morning and you're like, well, you're sipping your cup of coffee and you're like, well, let me see if I've been dancing a little bit with Google. Is it like one of those and then you look at your girlfriend or your wife and say, well, we're number 2. We're still doing good. Or you're like number 18 and you're kicking the dog. Like what? And I don't think you kick dogs because you don't look like that type.
Oh, no. Love the dog.
No, love the dog. Yes, I'm a huge dog lover too.
I try not to check my rankings multiple times a day. And I mean, I would say I try not to check them every day, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't. I can't resist the temptation that much. But it's definitely one of those things where it can you can get yourself into a weird psychological place when you're because this isn't something that you have any direct control over, right? I think I know most of the factors that impact how to get there and how to stay there. But every once in a while, there's a wrench that just comes flying into the engine, and it's all right, they've flipped a bunch of our assumptions upside down. So I don't claim to know all the secrets. I just spend a ton of time trying to experiment, trying to consume the content that people like Glenn Alsop, Viper Chill, likes to publish about SEO. He's amazing.
He's brilliant. Yeah.
And so he's someone that I hired for a quick little thing to do a video breakdown, tear down this website, tell me what sucks, what do I need to change? And so seeking the advice of other people, knowing that I don't know everything, I think is really important in something like this, even though I feel, I'm somewhat of an expert, but there's no possible way to know everything. There's always going to be someone who's better at technical SEO or better at link building, So yeah, that's been something that I've had to recenter myself around. All right, I need help.
And I think that's important. I think it is to always be a little, I wouldn't say insecure, but you always want to kind of keep your eyes open, right? Because the problem is the minute you think I've got this thing unlocked, you just never know what's going to happen, right? And I think that's what I tell people is hey, because the class I teach at UCLA with students, I go, listen, you have to realize if you're just relying, you're an influencer, this is an influencer space. If you're just doing influencer stuff on Instagram, just know they can change your algorithm. Just know they will change your algorithm, and just know that you lose 30% overnight and you're going to be pissed. But the thing is you have to, if you're making great money, you have to stack some of that away. It's not always going to be that way because things are going to change, and that's okay. But you just have to be ready for that kind of stuff. And I think you understand that because you waited 8 months, right? You were making a good amount of money, potentially more than what you were making in clothes, which you don't have to tell us what that was. But right, I mean, and then you finally said, hey, listen, I'm at a position where I feel like I've got enough, I've stacked a few chips here. I've got some good things going. I've got a good team in place helping me produce some content. And then there we go. So I think that's a good way to think about it because once again, you have to assume the money's not going to be there tomorrow, especially in the affiliate space, right? Yeah. Somebody's always going to be pulling on your coattails.
One really big lesson for me with this shuffle and search rankings for the how to start a blog stuff in particular has been dependency, right? What you mentioned, platform dependency on Instagram for an influencer. For me, it was affiliate dependency, right? So I'm now diversifying a ton of my efforts into, beyond just web hosting. What else can I get an affiliate of? WordPress themes, ConvertKit email marketing. I'm looking at basically every tool that I personally use and I'm now trying to figure out how to release content that can recommend those to people who are searching for answers on Google too.
Yeah, and that's the key is to diversify it, right? And if you can because the thing is, if you have 10 things that are bringing in 10%, you have one of them drop or two of them drop, it's not crushing your whole, your whole revenue stream, right? So that's always, because that is a scary thing, especially if you have such a, big thing on Bluehost. Obviously it's going phenomenal. I think you've planned it the right way, but now the diversification of what's either traffic or other concepts or, affiliate programs, I think is the way to go. So kudos to you for that.
Hey,
so
absolutely.
Yeah. So what is, and then you obviously have your podcast, which I've been on. Shout out to your podcast for having me on there. What was it? Why did you start the podcast? Was that something that it was because it was in that kind of like entrepreneur niche and kind of talking with people, or what, or the podcast was just because you were lonely in San Francisco and you're like, God, I want to talk to more people. Like what was the deal?
It really began as an excuse to get to interview people I wanted to talk to, like you know, people like you. I've had on like, you know, Neil, Heaton Shaw, James Altucher, like very,
Yeah.
very long list of super cool people that without a real reason, an excuse to like reach out to them and say, hey, can I ask you some questions? I wouldn't have had like a compelling reason to do that without a show. So that was really the genesis of it. I mean, it's the podcast has barely made me any money at all. I have like the occasional random sponsor that reached out, like FreshBooks sponsored 10 episodes of the show right when I launched. And then since then, it's very, very sporadic. So it's always been kind of like a, I guess you could say, networking tool for me.
Yeah.
And I also kind of learned that after about a year in, like it was also very healthy for my blog to be, you know, definitely publishing at least one fresh new piece of content every single week, no matter
Yeah.
what. And I think as doing my blog as a side hustle for as long as it was, that was extremely important because I was so inconsistent with when I would publish something long form, right? Because I was writing everything myself for the most part for the first few years, and it just took so long to publish a
Yeah.
5,000 word article that having a podcast episode that was easy was nice kind of social signal, and signal to search engines that, hey, this site is releasing new content regularly.
And so how much content are you guys producing right now?
Right now, I've really scaled my freelance writer base. I work with 5 or 6 writers, usually ongoing basis. I'm trying to publish 3 long form articles a week, stuff that's in the 5,000 word range. I usually hit around 2.5, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. So you guys, yeah, that's, I mean, we're kind of doing the
That's
same
a
thing.
lot
We're
more
going
than I was before.
hot and heavy after content, right? I mean, we figured now's the time. And when
Yeah.
we've seen some good traction, it's like, now's the time. And we have kind of diversified a little bit as well, just kind of going after some different spaces and stuff. And, which is interesting. That's why I enjoy talking with people like yourself, because it's like, you know, it's always fun there's just so much room out there, you know, and it's kind of nice to know things that work, and you're very transparent about the things that you do and things that are working, which is nice, especially if people just want to start off and, you know, want to learn how to start a business or start a blog. Like, I mean, obviously yours is the end all be all and the place to go. So congratulations on that.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
what do you think of like like if I asked you like, hey, what is the number one strategy that you guys use? I mean, other than, I guess, obviously long form content, is there anything else that you can say, hey, this has been phenomenal for us? Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I was just at Connex in Toronto, and Neil Patel was there, and one of the things that he said, which is something that we've always done, I've always been telling people, is the revamping of old content, right? Like, you have this old content that you have, and revamping it and getting Google. I mean, I know for a fact, well, I can tell you from my own personal blog that I think it's almost 70% of my blog posts are on page 1, and 30% of those have been like because we revamped them. And they were where they were on page 2, 3, 5, 10, whatever it was. We revamped them to get them on, 3 or 4, and then we revamped them again if needed to get on page 1. And so we've had great successes with that. And to hear Neil say that was like, obviously I knew that, and I've told people that until people, my little inner network and all that kind of stuff. And hear Neil say that. Is there anything that you say, hey, like anything that you can tell us, right? I know you're pretty open and transparent, but like, is there anything you can say, hey, we've been doing this and this has been crushing it? Is there anything that you've seen some great results from?
It's funny you mentioned content refreshing, because I would throw that in as one of the things for sure. I just refreshed a post today where, I updated all the screenshots to be, things that are relevant to this year, and like, the rewording of stuff, updating publish dates, like doing new images. I think, yes, that has been super important for me. But I'd say my biggest thing, like what I get the most bang for my time investment from, is guest posting. So being super, super concerted efforts around like who I reach out to also has been very important. Not just like taking whatever offers or opportunities come into my inbox, kind of like pushing a lot of those offers aside and saying like, no, here's my hit list. I have an ongoing spreadsheet of, sites sorted by what their domain rating is, right? So I'm looking at like how authoritative their sites are. And I collaborate with someone who helps me with writing guest posts and doing the outreach and kind of curating that whole process for me, because it's so time intensive to do it in a high quality way. And I think that's the best way to do it. I think there's a lot of people out there that do some crazy stuff as far as like link exchanges or buying link placements. And I think like, while some of that may work in the short term, I think a lot of it will get sort of sorted out. If you look at this over the course of what's going to happen in the next few years, especially if you're relying on like organic traffic. Google is increasingly trying to better rank content that's of high quality and not from people that are like trying to game the system. And so I think that the supernatural way of doing it, being on podcasts, writing long form quality guest posts that actually get shared and attract links of their own, like that's the authentic way that I've found, at least, to build up my content. And the unfortunate part is that it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, that's the thing is, it's I think, as I can contest to, is like you learn so much over the last 8 years of doing your blog. In the beginning, now we produce content with a purpose, right? With intent, yeah. Right? Like, what are we looking at? Back in the day, it was like, I'm just going to write this about this because I read about it, right? And so now it's like there's true intention on what we're writing the content about, whether it's a keyword, whether it's whatever that is. And I think there's some interesting strategies that go into that. And I think you had Adam, in Froy on your podcast. Yeah. So Adam's a good buddy of mine.
We have a side project together too.
You guys do? What is it?
Mm-hmm. It's called Money Talk. So we're writing a bunch of stuff. It's completely out of the blogging space. It's basically like business, finance, and credit content.
That is too funny. Because so funny, I was gonna ask you about that. I did see it at the bottom. I said the Money Talk, the Smart WP. Are those some of your other businesses?
Yeah, those are both side projects right now.
Awesome. So Money Talk, that's interesting. So because so that's in the credit space, right? You guys talk about like credit cards and recommending credit cards and stuff like that. Yeah, that's an interesting space for sure. I just have a buddy of mine that I had a thing called startupgreen.org, which is really for cannabis funding. But it's also in the financial space as well. So, it's always interesting. We've always got.
I want to talk competitive. Holy crap. That's some of the most intense keyword competition ever.
Yeah, I know. And every once in a while I go to do something and I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, I know there's so much lower hanging fruit instead of trying to go after the big dogs and people that have these crazy.
You got to pick your battles. If you want to go after big dogs, like I take one at a time, to be honest with you. I can't handle like going after a bunch of stuff that has hundreds of thousands of volume and monthly search. So yeah, I try and prioritize and do, I look at this timeline too of like, all right, I'm not even going to crack the first page for most of these high competition terms until 3 to 6 months. If I'm
at least, that's
a ton of, work to get them up there.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, yeah, it's like I said, if my poor team, every time I talk to them, I'm like, I've got an idea. And they're just like, oh my God, everybody just drops their pen. Like, not another idea. Like, you had an idea yesterday. Why do you have an idea today too? So how big is your team?
Full-time, just me. I'm the only one. I have contractors, 5 to 6 freelance writers that are doing, 1 to 2 pieces a month for me. So I kind of spread it out that way. But I've got someone who works, I'd say 20 hours a week doing my guest posting process. And I work pretty hands-on with them. I have a podcast producer who takes all my episodes, edits them, drafts the blog posts, show notes, all that kind of stuff. So I've been fortunate to be able to really scale a lot of my processes without bringing on full-time team members, which is something that I've been trying hard to avoid, mainly because I like to do some writing myself. I don't want to be like a full-time business manager. Yeah.
Well, that's a talent right there, my friend. That's like, because to be able to manage that and not have any full-time employees. I have like my team, which is a whole nother conversation. I have a 36-person team. They're all full-time.
Whoa.
Yeah. I've got a beast of a team. Yeah. Well, yeah, it is insane. One of my old this is a whole nother conversation. We could spend all day together, and talk about this, but I have another business that I had 130 employees but they were all local. Yeah. So that was a whole nother, that was like, I was nothing but a fireman. All I did was put out flames all day long. I was like, no business 36? Development.
You got to be just managing people most of the time.
I have good processes and I have a phenomenal team. Yeah. So I have a good business partner that's actually been phenomenal in being able to keep things organized. I'm more what I've realized, God, I'm trying to think of the book. There was a book talking about there's people that are innovators and there's people that are doers, kind of like, God, what was the book? Anyways, I am more of like a creative, like understand putting things together, doing this and have a good network and this. And then I'm usually, and then I can put stuff together and then I have to hand it off to somebody to be able to finalize it and take it to the final stages. because
part of this is knowing who you are and what your strengths are.
Well, and that book was something that really helped me, because it was like innovators. It was like innovators and something. And anyways, it kind of opened my eyes to, like, I realized that I can get 1,000 projects to 30%, but it's that last 70. But now I can put a strategy together to get to the finish line. But like the actual in there and grinding it out every day, like I start to the ADD and the ADHD kicks in, and then I see shiny pennies, and I'm looking over here and looking to my right, and that's what my team's just like, oh man, this guy, we got to get him some more medication or something, because
well, it's proof that it can work if you surround yourself with the right help.
And that's exactly it. Is that it took me. I mean, I've hired probably thousands of people, like seriously, and it's gotten to the point where it's like now I have a core team that's just like, it's like butter right now. I mean, I probably should knock on some wood, but my team right now has just been awesome. And we just started kind of monetizing the blog ourselves. We're not up to your level with monetization. I mean, obviously we have clients, and that's where we make a bulk of our money. But I do like, I'm really, really intrigued by the affiliate stuff, because I've always talked about it, done a little bit here and there. But I, interview people like yourself and said, okay, well, this is where things can get interesting. I understand this space. I mean, I think I'm getting about 170,000 a month. Not too bad. I think you're at 400, right? You're probably busting through 400, huh?
Yeah, between 400 and 500 usually.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. God, that's awesome. And then in regards to like the traffic and stuff, so you have one blog post that is kind of like your kind of your end all be all, right? That's been crushing it for you.
I've got actually a few. I could tell you exactly what they are. I think actually my number one post for forever has been on business ideas. And so it was something I published in like 2014. It was one of the first articles that I really kind of like decided to build quality links for. And I just went ham building links for it for like 2 years basically. And so it kind of fluctuates a ton because it's competing with like Entrepreneur, Forbes, like all these insane sites, but it's about side business ideas. So ranked number one for business ideas off and on, shuffles around a bunch, but I've got some stuff on like making money online. That's on the first page, freelance jobs, how to start a blog, remote jobs, motivational quotes, how to start freelancing.
I understand that you Bluehost, right? For the hosting side of things. How do you monetize like business ideas? Are you monetizing that at all?
Yeah, a little bit. It's kind of a hard one because there's not a hell of a lot of purchase intent with something like that. It's very discovery based. And for me, like the way that I try and monetize that post, I haven't quite figured it out, but I route people over to other content on my blog. So like number one is on starting a blog, because it's such a like lightweight way to start your own side
transition.
business.
Yeah.
So it brings a lot of people over to my start a blog thing. And, there's a few other ones in there that link off to better monetized content. And then there's some educational resources too. So like Creative Live, Skillshare, Udemy all have affiliate programs. So for the things that I don't have like an ultimate resource on, then I'll link off to someone else's educational resource.
And then what about your course? So you've got a course as well. What's your course?
Built to Blog. It's kind of my premium blogging course. I have a free one, and then this one's kind of like all right, once you've got the basics down, let's actually grow your site.
Awesome. And then what do you charge for your course?
Today, $297, and that's gonna change. I'm gonna probably between double and triple the price. I haven't fully decided yet, but I'm in the process of basically redoing all the content. I'm gonna kind of blow up the current version, keep the stuff that I know is good, just refilm it, restructure everything. But basically from the ground up, do a 2.0 version of the course.
And then for your course, what do you use for your platform? Like Kajabi, or do you have...
Today I use Teachable. I think I'm going to switch over to Podia, only because I've built stronger connections with the people on that team, and they've been kind of like poking me, hey, come over here. We'll give you, a sweet deal. We'll help you migrate. We'll make it kind of like worth your while to be in a partnership with them more so.
Awesome. God, that's exciting, man. Yeah, I know I've got a course that I'm almost done with. It's going to be how to be an influencer.com is the website. Yeah. So it's going to be an influencer course, but
that's the website, howtobeaninfluencer.com.
Yeah, I got it. I got it years ago. I got it years ago. And I was like, I've got to do something with this. I bought a lot of influencer domain names early on when I knew that it was going to be a place that I was going to spend some time. And so and I've actually had some offers on that domain name for a few $1,000, but I've always thought I want to build a course out. The course is going to be less about like how to get pink poodles and eat caviar on a jet, right? Like that's right. But it's going to be
Yeah.
more about like personal
Fundamentals of
branding.
the business.
Yeah. Like how to like if you're going to go and you're going to go pitch Nike, like, hotgirl69 at Gmail it might get their attention. I don't know. But not getting the right attention, right? So the idea is like, how do you build a personal brand so somebody can go look you up? And then really the class I teach at UCLA is like how to be able to pitch brands, right? And be able to go to them and say, let me tell you why you need to work with me. Because most brands don't know how to work with influencers. So the idea of the course is to be able to build that up and say, hey, like, let's build your personal brand, kind of like you're talking about. Build your blog, and now we can talk about how we're going to scale this thing and be able to start making some money. Same thing with this. Build the foundation of an influencer, at least, your personal brand, and then be able to scale it up through YouTube or Instagram or whatever. But, drive traffic to your website. No different than what you guys are talking about, right? They'll be able to get there and get it going.
Just different vehicles for driving that and monetizing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. Well, that's cool. So what else? So you've got, so you've got the, obviously you have your course. You're doing a little bit of consulting, but not a lot. You can pick and choose because that's a blessing from the man above. And then you've got Bluehost. What's your second biggest affiliate?
I think today, second biggest is DreamHost, another hosting company. So I've got a lot of like hosting related affiliates that do well for me. ConvertKit is usually up there because I just recently published kind of a comparison post, like a ConvertKit versus Aweber thing that's starting to rank for some stuff already pretty well. But then also Creative Live actually has continued to be a really good affiliate of mine because they have a great program for courses. They have such a huge catalog as well. So yeah, a lot of hosting resources, educational stuff, marketing tools. I'm still focusing on what those programs should be moving forward and how to better scale them.
Yeah. We started to do some comparison ones as well. And we're kind of working on some, I think we just did one for BuzzSumo and some other ones. Ooh. I don't know. It's like anything else, man. You know how it is. It's like, this is what I love. It's what I love about you is that you and I, if anybody was to look at us, we could be competitors, but I love networking with people and I love like sharing everything. Like I'm just such like a, I don't know. Like I always, it's like when I talk to people, they're like, well, I don't talk to that guy. Like he's a competitor. I'm like, what does that even mean? Like we're all going after money. Like to me, it's like, as long as you don't tell me a secret, then I go and try to do it. Like, I mean, it's like, I don't know. I always look at it like I'm more of like, kind of like you and Adam obviously started something. Like Adam's an awesome dude of just kind of like this networking of people of like, hey, what's working, what's not working. And I just think there's so much more power in that and power in numbers and understanding because we're really up against, Google and these, not up against, but I mean, we are, right? We want to be able to rank and be able to have a good network of a little mastermind group of, seeing what works and seeing what's not working. And, it's constantly changing. So I enjoy that. I enjoy that. So it's
I agree
awesome.
with you. I think there's even with people that are, air quotes competitors, I think like we have, a couple keyword phrases that we might compete with each other on, but we're both doing completely different stuff for, 7% of what we do. Right. So always ways to collaborate with people that have like a strong, network or following, like, look for like win-win ways is what I try and do. And for, Adam particularly, like we have some keyword phrases on our blogs that we both compete, head to head on, but we were like, you know what, we work so well together. Let's start a new site where we're not competing on these topics. And that's kind of a win-win way that we figured out how to work together.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, we're going to, when Adam's done frolicking in Spain or wherever he's at right now, little bastard. France, I know. Well, he must have just moved borders since we talked because every time I look at my thing, I'm like, where are you at now, man? But we'll have him out here in Sacramento. We'll come out and visit you in San Francisco and go out and have some fun.
Hell yeah.
Well, awesome, man. This was awesome. Once again, I knew this was going to be a good podcast, and that's too funny about my brother, dude. That's just such a small world. Isn't that funny? Isn't Noah just a little angel, though? Oh, my God, that little baby.
I've only gotten to see him from afar.
Oh, God, go see that little boy. He's just an absolute. My mom goes down there once a week to go babysit and hang out with him. I'm so jealous. Awesome. In fact, I add that to my calendar because it's just the cutest little baby. Little eyes. Oh, God, I'm going to lose my. I'm sorry.
Today? Your mom?
No, she was there yesterday.
Okay. Because I saw him, I kid you not, like a few hours ago, I saw him walking across the crosswalk.
That is such a small world. Well, I know where you live now, so that's super awkward.
Yeah.
I'm gonna reach out to you and I'll get your number and I'm gonna come out and visit the next few weeks. Actually, I'm supposed to go next week. Whole nother conversation off the podcast, but
nice.
I'll figure it out and we'll come out and hang out for a little bit. I'll take you to lunch or something.
Hey, let's do it, man. That sounds
all right,
awesome.
Buddy. All right, man. Well, you have an awesome rest of your Friday. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. We'll talk here soon. Oh, actually, one other thing. One other thing, if anybody needs to get in contact with you, how would they go about getting in contact with you?
Ooh, I'm super accessible. Email is always easy, just ryan@ryrob.com, and all my content lives there too.
There we go. That's it, you guys. Thank you so much for being a guest, buddy. We'll be talking with you here soon.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Cool. Thanks, man. Bye-bye.